Yeah.
Feeling good?
Yes.
All right, psychology nerds. I am Ryan Martin, and this is
Taylor.
Yes, Taylor. So it makes it seem like maybe I didn't know your name, but I do. I know your name. It's Taylor.
Yeah.
All right, so we are here for basically part 3 of the college development series we've been working on. We did first year on Monday. Yesterday we did sophomore year. Today we're going to talk about juniors/transfer students. And the only reason we're combining those is because a lot of times transfer students come in as juniors. And so each day has kind of had a theme as far as what I think students should be doing, right? So in first year, it's about figuring out what you like, making some initial plans. Sophomore year is really about planning and setting yourself up to have a successful last 2 years. In the junior year, I think, is about gathering relevant experience. One of the most critical things, I think, in the junior year is starting to really gather the critical experiences that you're going to need, whether it's applying for jobs the next year or applying to graduate school the next year. And so that might be, internships, it might be a research assistantship, it might be certain volunteer experiences, but it's also classes and class selection and thinking about that. So tell me what you were doing your junior year.
Junior year. So
you're a senior now, they should know.
I am. I'm a senior. I graduate in approximately less than 2 months, but it's fine.
You looked at your watch. Do you know exactly, is there
approximately less than.
Okay.
But junior year, I had 2 different internships going on. I was research assistant for one of the professors. I had just declared the psych major at that point, so I was in the middle of psych research methods and getting involved there.
Right. Yep. So that's a good example of what we're talking about, because you're working through the curriculum for your major and minor, and so at this point you're starting at junior year, you're taking a lot of those core psychology courses. You're also starting to take some of those upper level electives by now. You should be getting to know faculty a little bit better in the psych program, and so you're getting a lot of those experiences. And now you're also, I think, at a point where you're going to want to start really doing some of those individualized learning things, if that's important to you. And part of it is that because that's the point where you're going to qualify for those. So there's prereqs for a lot of these things. And sometimes those prereqs are based on having taken particular classes like research methods, having a particular GPA, being a junior in some cases. So there's prerequisites that you have to deal with and or be aware of, and this year is the year that you're probably going to meet a lot of those prereqs. This is also a point where another really important thing I think to mention about this year is that in some ways, and this might scare people a little bit, but in some ways college isn't really, let's say you're on the traditional path of a 4-year college experience. In some ways, though, the time you have to do some work isn't totally 4 years, because when did you apply to graduate school?
This year.
Yeah, so the stuff that's happening right now, while great and fun and a good learning experience, it only sort of helped you in the graduation, in the graduate school process, because what you could say is, I'm going to do this thing, instead of saying, I've already done this thing, and here's how it helped. And that's just very different. So in some ways, your junior year is a time where you really can accrue a lot of those experiences and have them can be reflected on your resume when you apply for jobs or apply to graduate school. Which is not to say you shouldn't do that stuff your senior year. You should. It's just a lot of times you're applying while you're doing that thing.
Yeah.
So related to that, if you're interested in planning on going to graduate school, then this is the time you really need to start thinking about the graduate school application process. Really, it starts for you, and if you haven't watched it yet, we just did a grad school discussion session live on Facebook. That's a good thing to watch. You can find it somewhere along with this video. It's Dr. Janelle Holstead and I. There's a lot of good information there. But really, the summer before your senior year is when you are doing your research. Is this fair? Is this a good
Yeah.
description?
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm going to ask for a true, honest, candid opinion from you. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've heard a lot of students say that applying to graduate school, is the equivalent of a course. Is that fair?
Um,
Time-wise.
Time-wise, yes. For me, I only applied to one program that I was really interested in, whereas a lot of other people who are
Gotcha.
studying different things apply to multiple programs
Yep.
and have to sort of make more work and more
Yeah.
essays and things like that.
Yep. Yeah, and go to the video we did earlier to talk about like the pros and cons of how many programs you apply to.
Mhm.
That's one of the things we talk about. There's times where it makes sense. In this case, it made sense to apply to one.
Mhm.
But it's just go to that video for more on that. There's some good stuff there.
Yeah.
But I think, it really the summer before your senior year is when you're doing the background research on graduate programs, figuring a lot of that stuff out. And that's going to be true for jobs too. At that point, you're really starting to look for whatever your first job out of college might be, and starting to do some background research on that. What am I missing so far? You don't know? Did I cover all the important critical things so far?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. So one of the things I've been saying, and I'm hoping people are listening and taking me up on this, is that you should have a resume at this point, right? We encourage people to build their resume in their first year, and that's because we want you to see some of the holes in it, and know what you need to fix. And so junior year is a good time to be filling the holes in that resume, taking care of those things. Now, we want to talk a little bit about transfer students. One of the things that I would say, and we know there are a lot of transfer students, and we are there's a lot of great opportunities here for transfer students. One of the things I would say is I think it's even more important for transfer students to kind of hit the ground running. Fundamentally, your time here is just kind of short. If you come in as a junior and you're here for 2 years, that's just less time to do and take advantage of some of the opportunities that we have here. Get to know faculty, get to know other students, and things like that. Do things like as soon as you come in, make sure you've if you haven't already taken stats and methods, take those right away. Really try and hit the ground running. Get to know faculty. What's a good way to get to know faculty, would you say? 'Cause you know us all.
I pretty much do now, yeah. One thing that helped me in the very beginning was going to org meetings and hearing them talk about their interests, what they're doing. Otherwise, just talking after class, going up to their offices for office hours, doing that really awkward introduction. Hi, I'm Taylor. I'm in your abnormal psychology class. And just building a relationship that way is super helpful.
That's where I know you from.
Yeah.
I remember.
That's what it is.
You sat on the right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that's exactly right. That's all stuff I would recommend. Really, I think, so I was a transfer student in college, and I lived off campus. I did not know very many students or very many faculty, and the clubs, that's the third time I've told people this story. If you're watching all these, it's going to get repetitive, and I'm sorry, but the clubs were how I got involved. They're how I got to know people. They're how I found out about career opportunities and things like that. So really, really, really can't push the clubs hard enough.
Yeah.
So join those. Let's see. I think I already kind of hinted at this, or didn't just hint at it, but said it. It's, in a lot of ways, your senior year, especially second semester, isn't the best time to get some of those experiences we were talking about. This is true for transfer students and for non-transfer students, especially if you're applying to graduate school. So being aware of that and trying to get those things done as soon as you get here. So
Yeah.
what am I missing? Anything I need to add?
I think that sounded good. You got those individualized learning opportunities. You got getting to know faculty, joining the clubs, things like that.
Cool. So I'm going to ask you a question quick and just like informative for people.
Yes.
Why? Because I get a lot of questions about, what should my minor be? Tell people a little bit about how you chose your minor.
So
Minors, right?
I only have one minor.
Oh, you got two majors.
I have two majors,
Gotcha.
one minor. I chose my minor, which is music performance, actually, because I was really passionate about singing and I wanted to keep doing it. I wanted to keep getting better at it. So it was a personal, I wanted to keep doing it. It's probably not going to be so much used in my career, so I know a lot of people will pick a minor based on what they want to do in the future, but mine was just a personal, I wanted to do this, so I did it.
I think that's a pretty great reason.
Yeah.
So I do. When people ask me that question about minor, what they should minor in, or should they double major. I think there's a lot of ways of thinking about it, and some of it is about skill development and, well, I want to learn how to do X, Y, or Z. Sometimes, though, I think the answer is I love this thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can go wrong choosing to minor or double major in something simply because you love it.
Exactly.
I think that's a great reason to do that. So,
Yeah.
very cool. That is it for today. Thank you so much, Taylor. We are going to be back tomorrow, same time, for talk about the fourth year, so senior year. All right.
Yay.
Cool. Thanks.